Hello guys, and today the Ukrainian drones have demilitarized a number of legitimate targets in Sochi and Adler. Sochi is considered the main resort of the Russian Federation, sometimes referred to as the eastern capital of the Russian Federation. And it was pretty surprising to hear how people who record the explosions on that oil refinery comment and describe Sochi not as Russia. They kept asking, why do they bomb Sochi if it's not Russia? This question demonstrates a great potential for the future dissolution of the Russian Federation, which honestly has already started. The airports were closed, and more of the Russian population understand that not just Putin failed to achieve his purposes of the special military operation, but he brought war back home to Russia, to dozens and dozens of their regions. So I think this will be an extremely interesting Russian geography lesson combined with some history and future forecasts. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat of the Kremlin regime, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel sometime really soon. Trust me, I love our Russian geography lessons just as you do, because they demonstrate that the strategy to defeat Russia is being implemented successfully. Sometimes I skip minor locations because it is already the new reality of the Russian Federation too. And now we speak not only about war on the Ukrainian side, but also on the Russian side. And I think it's more than just the population wanted war and the population of the Russian Federation got it. It is interesting that they experience it more and more often, and in important cities like Moscow, like St. Petersburg, and this time Sochi. July is high season. This is the time when lots of Russians travel to various resorts. Taking into account that Ukrainian drones have been paralyzing their airspace, specifically around huge airports in Moscow and St. Petersburg, many decided to consider local places, like Sochi. And that is actually the largest Russian resort on the shores of the Black Sea, a huge economic center, and often referred to as the capital, southern capital, resort capital of the Russian Federation. Interestingly and importantly, Putin's residence is also located near Sochi. And yes, they failed to protect it with the air defense. So, Sochi is a resort in Krasnodar Krai, but just 100 years ago, this was Georgia. And tonight, when Ukrainian drones set ablaze one of the largest oil refineries there that supplies oil products to the Russian army located near to the ports, lots of people who recorded these videos were cheering and saying, why do they bomb Sochi? They should bomb Russia. And excuse me? And it turns out that a lot of people who live in Sochi do not identify themselves as Russians. This territory was very controversial for centuries, and just 100 years ago, it belonged to Georgia. So I think a lot of people around the world, when thinking about the Russian Federation, do not understand that these unnaturally vast territories are actually prison to dozens, actually hundreds of different nationalities, many of whom pray for their independence, and they won't become dangerous maniacs. When you are afraid of the dissolution of Russia because this can lead to a maniac controlling nuclear weapons, I have bad news for you. The maniac in the Kremlin is already controlling nuclear weapons. And the only way to prevent that is to defeat them. And then maybe just observe, control, and help people identify their future by themselves, something that is literally impossible inside the Russian Federation. So Sochi and Adler were the cities attacked by the Ukrainian drones, but only the legitimate military targets were neutralized. specifically oil refinery, and I always love it because this gives us detonation and paralysis for the Russian troops. Oil products are needed for various tasks, tanks, aviation, whatnot. And Russia already experiences tremendous lacks of oil products, and this rises prices inside the Russian Federation. Let me know in the comments below, would you like a separate video about that? And remember to like and share these videos to demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine, and subscribe. Half of people watching these videos aren't subscribed, and if you join our community, we will be a real army of people who fight for the truth. And once again, trust me, in this toxic, chaotic times, this is super important. So it's also interesting that in Sochi there is a huge residence of Vladimir Putin, and it was one of his favorite. He spent a lot of time there with Alina Kabayeva, his lover or wife, we don't know. They hide people around them, which is also very abnormal. And he loved that residence. He spent a lot of time there. They had Olympics before the start of war against Ukraine in Sochi. So it is a very symbolic for them a place, and they had to leave it. Literally parts of that residence were already destroyed because Putin realizes it's too dangerous to live in Sochi. And actually, once again, those who heard the explosion, saw the fire, lucky Russians, we only target legitimate military objects, contrary to what they did just today, for example, in Odessa, in Kharkiv. Clearly a demonstration that Istanbul negotiations are not negotiations. This is, I don't know, a circus for Donald Trump, I guess. So Russians kept saying like, oh my God, what is wrong with air defense? Where is our air defense? Why our oil refineries are on fire? Maybe they ran out of air defense missiles or something like that. Why don't they protect our territory if it's a territory of Vladimir Putin? I am sorry. This is a tremendous difference, by the way, between Ukrainians and Russians. We consider Ukraine to be our home. Whenever we don't like something, you witnessed that recently. We go out on the streets, we protest, and today Zelensky gave a totally different law to the parliament, which strengthens the independence of this anti-corruption organs. I'm proud of that. I'm totally satisfied. I wonder how they watched that in the Kremlin and how they felt about that in the Kremlin when people in Ukraine are so brave, even in times of the big war, and Zelensky heard us. I'm sure there were other issues that he might not have predicted, and this was not to cover up anything. This was some changes that perhaps they did not read the proper way, but we did, and we warned them, and they heard us. That's how democracy works. It's never perfect. It's about discussions, it's about quarrels, but quarrels that bring good results, and we are back on the normal track. So, and we consider the country is ours. And Russians think like they cannot bomb Sochi because Sochi belongs to Putin. People of Russia, poor people of Russia, your country must belong to you, not to this Kremlin goblin or Medinsky or Lavrov. Why do you think that this like thousands and thousands, actually millions of square kilometers should belong to some... YouTube will ban the words I want to use to this like Kremlin criminals. So many Russians had to spend this night in a bomb shelter. It's pretty natural when you hear explosions, when you see detonations, and specifically when you know how Russian air defense works. They often shoot their own airplanes, their own buildings. There are cases, what is interesting, they actually don't blame Ukraine for that, because there are videos where you can literally see a Russian missile, air defense missile, going up and down on their own buildings. So I guess a big percent of the Russian population is also afraid of the Russian air defense, its absence, but also when it's present, it's not operating properly. Why? They were not prepared to fight on their own territory. They wanted war, but somewhere far away, somewhere in Ukraine, so that they could comment awful photos coming from our cities. But when it returns back, at least to their military objects, they are dissatisfied. And logically, they spend nights in parking lots of the hotels because they don't have enough shelters, just as no one has, trust me. I'm Ukrainian, I know that. And Sochi is a resort, and airport was not working, and these are thousands and thousands of sweaty people very dissatisfied with Putin's idea to demilitarize Ukraine, and now they witness how we demilitarize Russia. The special military operation failed tremendously. They united us as a nation as never before. Lots of people were very neutral towards Russia and the Kremlin. Now they are not and never will be. And we are super militarized. I think we are the best army in Europe, let's be modest. And you definitely need Ukraine in NATO. So that's all I wanted to tell you today, apart from the very important fact. We need to meet this Saturday, 9 p.m. for our live conversation. Prepare your questions. I always love answering them. And remember to subscribe to my channel, Anna Danilchuk, where I upload weekly videos in a more conversation style. Our community is growing there, and I'm always happy to share with you what I feel and what I think. So join the community there too. And follow me on X, I'm fighting there, on Instagram, sharing more of everyday life there, on Threads, Blue Sky, and we have an amazing Discord community. The link's in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop, where we have a new limited edition t-shirt, "Don't push the horses." If you want to know what stands behind this phrase, visit the website. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, helping me film, write, and even think more. And I'm so blessed to be able to introduce you to my beautiful country, Ukraine, and to explain some very complex but super important things about this part of the world. Thank you for being my friends, and I will not exaggerate if I say my family. Slava Ukraini!